All right, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Chris Pradle, Executive Director at Community Homeworks here in Kalamazoo. I'm joined here with Katie McPherson, who's Executive Director of Building Blocks. Just to give you a little bit of background, Community Homeworks, if you don't know, is a nonprofit organization. We provide critical home repairs and empowering education to income-eligible homeowners here in the city of Kalamazoo and Kalamazoo County. We started this Let's Talk Housing series as an opportunity to connect with partners that we already are connected with and work with. And we really want to use it as an opportunity to get to know each other better, but also share all the great things that are going on in our community, both in our neighborhoods and in the housing space as well. And so we're really excited to have you today, Katie. Katie started as Executive Director of Building Blocks just before the start of the pandemic in January 2020. What a start time. So anyways, thanks so much for being here, Katie. We really appreciate it. So we'll get started here. We would love to just kind of have you tell us a little bit about, Building Blocks and what you're doing to work with residents and blocks and neighborhoods in the city in Kalamazoo.
Yeah, absolutely. So Building Blocks really aims to empower and organize resident groups to plan and lead initiatives that will enhance their streets, their blocks, and ultimately their neighborhoods and communities. We truly believe that believing in and supporting the inherent expertise of the residents that are residing on the streets is the place to go when we really want to see true, authentic change happen. We work with resident groups from 5 core neighborhoods: East Side, North Side, Vine, Oakwood, and Edison. So we're super excited. We have about 25 sites this year. Let's see, 6 of them were new Catalyst sites, and then we have ongoing block action groups that we're working with as well. And a lot of projects, everything is resident led and everything is resident decided. So projects change from group to group, block to block. Priorities change as the years go on. But we're really excited to continue this work because we see so many awesome leaders rising from this work and really making true change happen on their blocks.
That's awesome. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. So just out of curiosity, just share with everybody to get to know you a little bit better. What was your path to Building Blocks? Like, how did you get into the organization and get involved?
Yeah, I actually started my time with Building Blocks as a 19-year-old college student. So Building Blocks was originally a sociology class at Kalamazoo College. And the aim was really to develop and teach community organizing and develop student leaders by working directly with and building relationships with residents and helping support them through a grant process where residents really got to come together and make some changes happen. It was one of my favorite things about college, and it was really a place where I found what I think of as just my calling. It built fuel in my fire. It built fuel in my heart. Fire in my belly, I guess we'll say. So that was my first experience with Building Blocks, and it stayed with me through my professional time. After graduating from K College, I actually joined Teach for America, moved to New Orleans, which was very much right after Hurricane Katrina had really devastated the community. My heart is still very heavy today, seeing what all of the suffrage that's happening in South Louisiana because of Hurricane Ida this last week. So just a little bit of a heavy heart still with all of that. But anyway, moved to New Orleans, was there about 6 years working to help build really excellent schools and build inclusive special education programs within those schools. Then moved to Memphis, did very similar work. At that point, my husband and I decided we wanted to get back to Kalamazoo. So we've been back here about 5 years. Loving every moment of it. I was just really excited to reconnect with Building Blocks, and I truly feel that I found a job that I'm just completely in love with. So really, really happy to be back.
Yeah, that's awesome. I feel like I've seen more about Building Blocks in the last year than I've seen, in my entire life here in Kalamazoo. And I definitely had heard of the organization and know that the work's going on, but I know that you're just knocking it out of the park. So thanks for all you're doing. And actually kind of an interesting connection that we both have. I was a Teach for America alum as well. I was in Chicago, where I did my stint at Teach for America for 2 years, and so I can definitely relate with the organizing that goes on with families and with schools and everything like that. And I can't imagine, like thinking about your kiddos and everything and where they're at when you see, world events like Hurricane Ida go through. And yeah, you always think about your kids. Like it's kind of neat too. I don't know about you, but I still hear from my kiddos from time to time as well, and they're just like grown humans now, which is a bit horrifying. Makes me feel old. But anyways, thanks for sharing that. So next question I had for you as well is, do you mind sharing a little bit more about, what is, describe like some more about the block level organizing, that Building Blocks is known for. Like, what does that look like? What does that process look like? How does it come about?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think from the beginning, our Catalyst sites is kind of our first interaction, connection with a particular block or group. And those groups are often selected or by the neighborhood associations. So the neighborhood associations would bring those block forwards to us and highlight them as potential great places to have a building block site. And then we work with resident facilitators. We conduct a neighborhood leader academy where we train around leadership and organizing, recruitment, budgeting, just all this stuff that happens with a Building Blocks program. And basically that site receives a grant for $4,500. And it's completely up to the residents on that site to decide how they want that money to be spent. So we want to focus on exterior home improvement, beautification, community projects. But really beyond that, it's all up to them. And so a lot of it is maybe just this person needs support with their porch being painted, or maybe this person needs gravel for their driveway. So that's basically where we start, is like kind of what are the needs and desires of this block? And ultimately, residents are then coming together and talking. And in a world where isolation is becoming a greater and greater issue, we're finding that if you just kind of like allow the opportunity for connections to happen, then residents are starting to build those relationships, trust each other, and actually start talking about real, bigger issues beyond just the gravel in the driveway. Like, let's talk about the house down the street that has troublesome behavior, or let's talk about the vacant lot that's been sitting for so long. And so those are the conversations that start happening. And so what we see from there is that residents really become a group that they are empowered to advocate for their street. We once had a resident said, I realized I could fight for my block. And so that's the kind of work that we want to keep going. So our program used to just kind of end at 12 weeks. And then we go to a different block and go to a different block. And what we found is that was really a lost potential. Like the momentum is here, the community is here, the energy is here, these conversations are happening. Let's not leave. Let's stick with this block every single year. And let's think about what are your priorities and goals for this year and for next year. And so that's kind of what has evolved into just this Catalyst program to ongoing block action groups that are happening throughout the city.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. It's pretty awesome. And I know you mentioned that you had, what was it, 6 new sites this year that were added just this year alone, if I'm not mistaken. So, obviously that's a big step forward as well, but are there any things that you're particularly like proud of that have happened recently, or that are new with the organization that you wanted to share with everybody that is going on?
Sure. So, we love our partnerships with our neighborhood associations. They have been so much part of where Building Blocks has come, and now we are starting to evolve in a way that we are actually launching sites that residents are applying to Building Blocks as a street themselves, because what we're finding is that there is an increased demand to get Building Blocks on their streets. And so we're really excited that in several of our neighborhoods, we actually had residents that were the ones that submitted the applications to get Building Blocks on the site. And that was just like let's just see what happens here. And it's going really, really well. And because residents are already from the get-go, like putting in the work to get building blocks there. And so they're ready to have building blocks there and continue the work happening. So I'm really excited about that change. That was a pilot last year. And now what we're planning to do is actually publish a resident-led application process on our website this year in the next month, so that we can really open that up to anyone, so that any resident group that wants access to building blocks can apply for it.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's great. I was going to ask you too, just out of curiosity, I know this wasn't a planned question or anything, but I would imagine, obviously the pandemic is proven challenging for a lot of people, but the neat thing is so much of your work is happening outdoors. And so how have you seen that kind of either work for or against, the work that you do and like the challenges you've seen?
So I think it was March 13th. We had a community dinner in the basement of First United Methodist Church, which is one of our partners. And we had like 80 people from all of the neighborhoods all together. And that was our program launch. And literally the next day, COVID hit Michigan, hit Kalamazoo, and everything shut down. And I was still a very new leader at that point and was like, oh my gosh, we are socially isolating. How are we building community? How are we going to build community with this? Like, what do we do? And so I talked with the staff, and one, it was just like, check in on like, how are y'all? Like, are we all, just like how are our residents? Like, check in with your residents. Like, do people have what they need? And, actually what we found is, one, Building Blocks wasn't going to put pressure to do Building Blocks programs on any residents at all. But it was the resident leaders that really came and stepped forward and were ready to make work happen. And so what we saw was food pantries go up on blocks. We saw veggie gardens get planted that had not been planted before because there were concerns about food. We saw so much community work happen during the summer last year, and it was so inspiring. And there were so many reasons that we were so able to accomplish that. And it really just comes down to resident leaders wanted to give back during a time that felt devastatingly helpless to so many of us. Let's do this small thing for our block this year. And so it was a very inspiring reaction to COVID, making sure that their neighbors and blocks and communities were good.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, it's I guess one of the silver linings of the pandemic is just like kind of bringing people together and like finding opportunities to enhance life that we wouldn't have otherwise done, I guess. And you guys have definitely found a way to do that. I know I've heard you talk before about like the leadership component to Building Blocks, and it's like I guess the individual resident leadership role, but also like the collective leadership role.
Yeah.
How have you seen that transform people in blocks and neighborhoods, like that leadership, and how people have like maybe built confidence and those sort of things? How do you see that work out?
Yeah, and I think that's one thing is Building Blocks really just needs to respond to each resident groups that have very different strengths and needs. So some of our groups still have staffed Building Blocks organizers that really work to kind of support and kind of get the ball rolling on the various projects. And then we also have groups where there are resident leaders that have really stepped into that organizing position and really just need Building Blocks to like support, empower, give them access to the resources. And so we really this year have done like a third phase where we have resident leaders that are really like just rocking it and able to do more. And the more that we provide the trust, the autonomy, just like get out of their way. Like, we're just here to help, with some resources and like vouch for like your work and help you fundraise and whatever you want to do. It's more empowering, and so we've seen a change there. When it comes to like kind of tangible things. We do see residents that we work with joining boards of their neighborhood associations. We also have been trying to engage in summer calls where we bring city representatives in to meet and get to know resident leaders, know their names, and talk about some of the critical issues in the city. So that's some of the other work that we're doing. So that's kind of where we bring leaders together from various neighborhoods to really talk about the city and the community as a whole, and how agencies and organizations can be better to the residents of Kalamazoo.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've seen firsthand. I mean, a lot of people just think about some of the more visual things that you see Building Blocks out and about on a block or in a neighborhood. But I've personally seen the organizing power of Building Blocks working with particular street that was having an issue with a nuisance house, and it's neat to see that. And a lot of the neighbors, I remember saying, like, this is the first time I've ever really engaged with you, and they're all talking to each other and sharing their concerns. So it's neat to see. It's awesome. So I was wondering if you wouldn't mind telling us a little bit more about the community work weekends. I believe there's 2 more that are coming up this year.
Yeah. So one of the things, this was also new this year that we wanted to do is, as I was talking about how we want to meet the needs of all of our resident groups that are all very different, what we have found is some of our resident groups are so amazing at the community engagement and the connection and the advocacy, but maybe limited physically. And have great projects that they want to see done on their blocks. And so one of the things we've really tried to do this year is intentionally recruit volunteers to support sites that could use volunteers. So our residents still take responsibility and are out doing the work. But there are times where having additional volunteers, shoveling or painting or just assisting is a really helpful thing. So we have been very intentional about having community work weekends, and we've really appreciated getting the college students, some of the church congregations, all different organizations just come in and seeing the work, because it's not only helpful to the residents, but the Building Blocks work days are magical. Like I can't describe like that. You may go being like, I'm gonna spend my Saturday like doing this, but you never don't leave a day like that and be like, I made connections to people that I may have not known, or I walked on a street that I don't normally walk on, and I felt helpful, and I know I dragged my husband to a work day last year, and I had him, I didn't have him, the residents had him help assist a woman build some raised veggie beds or planters. And he just was like euphoric the rest of the day. And that's not like his kind of like personality. I just wanted to like record him, because I'm like, this is exactly how it feels after just giving a day of service to your community. And we always provide like a community lunch and a t-shirt, and it's just really fun. So if anyone on the call is interested, we do have a volunteer application on our website. We are actively recruiting volunteers for September 18th and October 2nd. I promise that it'll be a good time had by all. So, and hopefully by that point in the year, we won't have like 90-degree weather. So that should make it more fun too. So, yeah.
Very nice. Yeah, so that's a nice segue into one of the last questions I had regarding the organization. So you mentioned how people can sign up to be a volunteer. What if somebody wants to sign up to be a resident leader, or wants to see about potentially getting their block involved? I mean, how do they go about doing that?
Yeah, that was a huge gap for us for a long time. So I am really happy to say that I am committing to having a resident-led application on our website by next month. So that'll be a new initiative. But I get calls all the time, like, I'm on your website, I do not see where you apply for Building Blocks. And I'm like, you are correct. We always only had one method to basically get our sites, and now it's time to have more methods. So I'm really excited about that. If you feel that you and your neighbors want to come together, get some great work done, work together, get connected to some other communities, definitely keep us posted, follow us on social media. I will be definitely announcing once that application is uploaded. So
very cool. Yeah, and I'd encourage the public. I went last night. I wanted to make a quick contribution. It's super easy to do. I'd encourage everybody else to go and do that as well. If you go to the bbkazoo.org, you can make a contribution. It takes like less than a minute to do, and support their work as well. So if you get a chance to do that, please support our partner here. Anything else you think viewers should know, about the organization that maybe we didn't ask?
I mean, just to piggyback on what you say, Building Blocks is 100% funded by individuals and local private foundations. So we are happy to continue this work and expand our work in an equitable way where we can pay people equitably and pay resident leaders for their time. And so all of the contribution is super helpful. And what's really cool is you're going to see really tangible results, from that. And also subscribe to our newsletter so you can get even more information about building blocks from there. So thank you so much.
Yeah, for sure. So now some fun Kalamazoo questions for you.
Okay.
All right. So number one, who is your Kalamazoo hero, Shiro? Someone that you look up to the most?
I really want to just highlight that it's my resident leaders, like the people that I get to work with every day at my job. So whether it's Jeremy from Vine or Stephanie from Northside or April from Eastside, Jackie from Edison, I mean, the work that they do is just so inspiring. And I am so grateful for every time I get to be with them, have conversations with them. These are leaders that are just like they're hidden leaders. And I just want to just highlight that is what's amazing, is that they're doing this work to better their community. And that's it. They're not famous people, or maybe they are, but they're wonderful people, and they're my hero Shiros.
Awesome. Favorite place to eat in Kalamazoo?
Jack's Cola Pizza.
Nice. If you had a day off in Kalamazoo, what would you do with your time?
I would probably spend it with my 1-year-old and 4-year-old boys who are very active. So we would probably go somewhere outside, a playground, or ride their bikes somewhere, get their energy out.
Would you consider yourself an introvert or extrovert?
Definitely an extrovert.
Awesome.
I'm shamelessly an
extrovert. Perfect. What would you say your leadership philosophy has been since you joined the organization?
One, I think adaptive leadership. I think that inspiring people to do work really takes a leader that's willing to adapt their own leadership philosophy to meet their needs and empower them. And I just think that if you communicate super, super clearly, there's never too much communication, and you inspire passionate people, they will always step up to the occasion. They will always step up more than anyone may think so. And I think that we just have to know that. That's my leadership.
That's awesome. Love it. So complete this sentence. Kalamazoo is best at blank.
I feel like I'm not going to complete this sentence in the right. What I love about Kalamazoo, I don't know if I think it's best at this. We are a small city, and I think the opportunity with that is that the problems are complicated, but they're solvable. And I think that is so darn inspiring that, yes, there are issues, there are complications, but we can see those changes in a lifetime if we are able to come together, and if we're able to work hard. And I think that that's what makes Kalamazoo great.
Very nice response. So last question, the best kept secret in Kalamazoo is blank.
The Kalamazoo Promise.
Nice. Very true. Yeah. It's been very catalytic for the rest of the country. That's a good one. So awesome. Well, Katie, thank you so much for doing this with us today. We really appreciate you, everything that you and your team are doing for our community. We really appreciate any opportunities we've had to connect and collaborate whenever we can. And we hope we definitely can stay in touch with you. Again, this is a monthly series that we do our best to do on the on the first Thursday of each month at 4 p.m. And each month we have a different partner that we work with, or somebody who's doing community building or housing work here in the city of Kalamazoo. We hope you'll continue to join us. Check out our other programming. We have educational programming that we offer every Tuesday at 6 p.m. on Facebook Live and also on our YouTube page as well. So you can find those, and be on the lookout here in the next month or so. We're going to be launching a new website, which will also catalog and bank all of our recorded episodes of education, so you can access valuable educational content anytime around the clock. So again, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate your time. Hope you have a great extended holiday weekend.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks, Katie. Bye.